What causes infidelity in a relationship? It's a big topic, and for the last 40 years, I've been dealing with thousands of couples who have committed infidelity. So stay with us. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you got a question, put it in the box. So what causes infidelity in a relationship? Well, let me first say this. To all of you who are listening, who have either been the person who committed infidelity or the person who it was committed against, the partner is not a cause for infidelity. Infidelity lays 100% at the person who chose that path. Now, how did they choose that path? That is what causes infidelity. They might have been sexually abused. They might be repeating a pattern from their past. They might have created a sexual addiction with a long history of masturbation and pornography and pushing themselves into that direction for years or even decades, and an opportunity shows up, or they create an opportunity and they cross the line into infidelity. It could be an intrigue relationship that goes on in the office. We have a DVD called Intrigue Addiction, and there's this energy going back and forth and eventually flirting, and it moves into that. It can be a situation where it really wasn't planned at all. They're out of town, they go down to the bar at the hotel, and someone's willing, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a situation where there's opportunity and they commit infidelity. But it's not the partner that causes infidelity in any way, shape, or form. And if someone has a sexual addiction or other addictions, they are spiritually, emotionally, morally about 14. So they look at the opportunity like a 14-year-old, maybe cheating on their girlfriend, but not their wife or their husband. And so there's several things that could be happening. There could be psychological disorders, like a borderline personality who really runs their life on emotion, and compulsivity in two areas is part of it. And so they act out because of that. It could be manic depression where they go into a mania and they're not themselves and they do things that are not themselves, and sex might be one of those. So there's many reasons for infidelity. Let's talk about the relationship. I clearly said the partner is not responsible for the act of infidelity. However, if you're in a marriage and if you're not communicating well, you're not communicating what your wishes or desires are in the marriage, then you already broken trust with your spouse because you're not honest with them. So you already pulled away from them. If you have a secret addiction, you already pulled away from them. So you have created a situation where your marriage, you don't give trust in your marriage. You don't tell them your hurts, your frustrations, or disappointments. Okay, that's a possibility. Also, there is situations where in a relationship, you are totally starved spiritually, emotionally. They're not having sex with you, and you feel totally starved. Now, counseling is an option there. Divorce is an option there. Separation is an option there. But if you commit infidelity, even if it's because of the pain, I'm not saying that a partner can't create pain. Partners can create a lot of pain. Spouses can create pain, rejection, hurt. It feels like you're being used because they don't want to work and you're making all the money. It feels like you're being used in a way that you come home and you have to clean up everything even though she hasn't worked all day. All kinds of frustrations and angers or power and control issues, manipulation, all this kind of stuff, alcoholism. There could be a lot of pain created in a marriage or in a long-term partnership. However, the person who chooses infidelity to medicate chooses infidelity to medicate. They could have chosen overeating. They could have chose workaholism. They could have chose spirituality. They could have chose volunteering. They could have chose a lot of different types of adaptive behaviors. That's why infidelity lays at the feet. Now, if there has been pain in their marriage and infidelity has been exposed, I've worked with more than a couple thousand couples who've been able to repair not only the thinking and the process of the person who committed infidelity, and not only the betrayal trauma. If you haven't looked up partnerbetrayaltrauma.org, and in there, my book, Partner Betrayal Trauma, there's research there, and you will see how much damage infidelity does. The PTSD symptoms, the depression, the self-esteem, the questioning their sexuality. There's all kinds of trauma that a woman will go through, and a man. We have a product called The Betrayed Man, and we cover what a man can do if he's betrayed. So it's not a gender issue. Trauma happens to you when your partner betrays you in infidelity. And so there's a path for the partner to heal. There's a path for the infidelity person to heal, and find out why. Because if you don't find out the why, the chances of doing it again are much higher. And then thirdly, the marriage to heal. And there is a way. We do 5-day intensives at Heart to Heart Counseling Center. There is a way to get to the truth. Is it really over? Was it really only one person or two people? You can find this out in the counseling process and be able to heal. I have helped thousands of couples restore, many doing 5-day intensives at Heart to Heart Counseling Center in Colorado Springs, and they have better marriages than ever. So infidelity is not the death of a marriage unless the marriage is already dead. If both people are willing to do their part of the work, there's hope. But if either person says, you know what, I can't do this, or I choose not to do this, okay, that marriage will probably end. And it's important that you have a sense of peace wherever you go. And I would say get educated about this, get in some kind of support or a counseling relationship. We have both sides of the coin here that you can call, 719-278-3708. And you can walk through this, regardless of the path of your spouse. You can walk through this. I've seen every scenario work, okay, where they work together and they heal the marriage. It's better than ever. I've seen where he or she can't do it, and they both are able to develop their lives. The person who committed infidelity, figure out their problems, move forward. The person who took the bullet, able to take the bullet out, walk forward, okay, and create a life. The choices are yours. The responsibility is to the person. The healing is for everyone, and it's possible. So I hope this very short conversation inspires you to take the next step for you. No matter what side of the fence you're on in this scenario, you are responsible to heal you and discover what makes you do the things you're doing. So I hope you can do that. Reach out to us. Call the Counseling Center, 719-278-3708. Okay, and you can absolutely heal from this type of situation, and you can live a better life. That's our hope. If you haven't subscribed, hit the button. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the box.